week 4. This was the beginning of pushing myself for the long runs. My long run this week was 14.5 kilometers. So for me, the day I say I'm going to do a long run, that would be like 10 kilometers. So when we start going up to 14, that's where I'm really having to push. So my experience was interesting. I would go for some distance and it would be fine. Then all of a sudden I start struggling. And what I discovered was the key was what I was thinking about when it started getting difficult. If I focused on the difficulty, it's like it multiplied. But what I tend to do, or what I did was, I'll think of some topic of interest that I'd been, pondering over, and I start just thinking about it, and before you know it, I've gone some distance. In fact, there was a point where I was to make a U-turn, and I was so lost in my thoughts that I actually got there and went past before I realized, oh, that's where I was supposed to have turned. So another thing I learned was, much as you don't want to focus on the stress, you still have to be present in the experience, so you don't miss out. So even when it was difficult, I had to be conscious of the undulations on the road, the cars or vehicles around, the people around, so that I don't stumble and fall. I took my mind to Philippians 4 and 8, where Paul was talking about the things that we should think about. And for good reason, right? Because our thoughts produce our words and our actions. Everything starts with our thoughts. So guarding what we think is very important. And that definitely is a key for me when I'm doing these long runs and it gets challenging. I just can't afford to start focusing on how difficult it is. I have to think about something else that I find interesting and that takes my mind off of the pain and off of the stress, especially because at some point my big toe was hurting. So life has its seasons. It has the periods where you seem to just be coasting through and everything seems fine. Then it has the periods where it seems difficult and almost like you're not going to make it. And then you make it, right? And it just keeps going up and down and up and down. I think that's the way life just is. And what makes a difference for us in Christ is that we're not in it alone. And there's hope. We know that we'll come through it, because even if we go through the fire, he says he'll be in it with us and we'll come out of it unscathed. But when you're going through it, focus on the things that give you joy, that keep your heart at peace. And you'll come out at the end of the day and be stronger for the next one, because life is in waves.